Hey everybody, I'm here with Tristan, a lead industrial designer here at CF Moto Dealer Show 2024, talking about the new Z10, and this is the new motor inside of it. So Tristan, tell us a little bit about this power plant.
Yeah, guys, so right here, this is brand new for our Z10 product. Everything from the engine to the transmission to the clutches to the differentials are all completely new for the Z10. So one of the things that we're gonna notice about this is a 1000cc triple cylinder engine. We have obviously it's turbocharged back here. We put the turbo on the back side to isolate and pull as much heat as possible away from the occupants in the back. So you'll notice that that's on the back side of the engine. We have a 900 watt stator that comes standard. Another thing I think guys will notice is we have a spot right here in the future for an alternator kit. So it's already built in there. It's already ready to go. Transmission, high and low. It's still a CVT setup. It's a brand new CVT from us. It's a 6-spider design. And obviously you can see we have 4 cooling ducts. So right now this engine is producing 143 horsepower without a charge air cooler. And it makes really nice torque, I think low down, very smooth. Hopefully you get to drive it here shortly.
Thank you. All right, so Tristan, I like how it's pretty simplistic. We have 2 different colors, 2 options, a 2-seater and a 4-seater. We're standing here next to the ZForce 4-seater. So I want to talk about some of the design elements of it. And one thing that's really interesting, I look at it, you have all the cooling in the rear of the car, which is very unique.
Yeah, no, it's a huge change from the industry right now, and I think it's all for the better. But starting off, I think first and foremost, I want people to think when we first started this project, we wanted everybody to think a little bit more kind of supercar, exotic car, less power sports toy. So I think you're going to see that throughout the entire vehicle. There's sculpted surfaces, you know, that is really refined and sophisticated. I think people come to appreciate that. CF Moto paints better than anybody in the industry, and we're going to continue leveraging that. There's massive amounts of paint, very clean surfaces, sculpted lines, lots of tension in the bodywork. And again, I think customers are going to see that, they're going to notice it. One of the things on the design I think everyone's really going to notice on the 4-seat that's unique is the 2-seat and 4-seat have different doors. That is a huge investment for CF Moto to say on the front doors, we're not going to reuse the 2-seat. These are unique doors to only the 4-seat, and that's what gives us our body lines that actually work. You know, they flow through the whole thing. It's designed to be that way. We don't have what we call the lightning bolt where you normally come through. You have to jog back down and come up. It's a real disjointed look. This is clean and long and low, and it accentuates our ROPs. So our ROPs are all, you know, continually bent, not profile tube, 2-inch round tube, but you can see it's a nice shape. It complements everything, pulls it together, and it looks far more refined than the others in the industry.
Speaking of ROPs, I noticed you only have 1 joint here on the 4-seater. There's no joints on the 2-seater.
Yeah, I think that's another huge one. Again, these are massive investments for us, so shipping is different on this. You know, when we look at this ROPs, we're gonna see, again, 2-inch tubing, only 1 joint in the 4-seat. It's fully welded. All cross members you'll see are all gusseted, and they're all welded. In addition to that, we have the A+ pillar here. So all joints are underneath. It's not welded to the chassis. They are bolted joints, but they're hidden from everything. We don't want to look at ugly bolts that could, you know, potentially corrode in the future. So all of that is below the plastics. And again, that nice clean look, fully welded.
And you said the rear of the cage actually goes to something. It's got some structure.
Yeah,
Love to hear that.
Unfortunately, I can't show you because it's all buried. We do little things like we even put inner fender wells on these products, but these go down and they tie back to the chassis. That's a big thing. It's important for us. You'll see. I wish I had a bare chassis to show everybody, but there's 2 tubes here. They come together in a big gusset, and the structure is right through the center. It's very high, so there's not a lot of leverage on that part of the ROPs.
I sat in the back seat of it real quick since we're talking 4-seater. Wheelbase is 129.
Yes, so with design, there's a big thing for me. It's styling. If I stretched it out even more, the lines get more exotic. You know, I would say bolder, but the reality is it's always a balance between dynamically, what's it like to drive? So from the get-go, we even thought about what the wheelbase is. So this is a 129 wheelbase, and that's what gives it its playful feeling. We didn't have to skimp on actual occupant space. The ergonomics are excellent, but it's still the playful wheelbase. The 2-seat over there is going to be a 99-inch wheelbase, and we think that's the right blend. It gives us stability, but also the playfulness. Some of the vehicles out there, I think, really lack in the playfulness. They're not very dynamic in trails. They don't go over rocks well. Their breakovers pretty poor. Even the rockers you'll see here, we really pulled them up. We kind of boat rockered them in and pushed them in as far as we can. So even when you're going over a log for our kind of Northwest and Midwest customers, it's going over logs and everything. We try to keep everything nice and tidy, nothing hanging down. We really try to I would say mind all of those things. It's not just the Southwest vehicle. It has to go through everything.
Well, I'm sure it's difficult to package it all together. I'd just like to comment. I sat in the back, I'm tall, 6'3". I fit in there not bad, and then I really liked how high the doors came up. So I think you did a good job with the style of the cage, but it also feels safe to have the door line here above your shoulders, make it that much easier to keep your hands in of your occupants.
Yeah, I think another thing is, as we look at these vehicles, again, the team was thinking right from the get-go, what's the right way? What would we want to do if we could do it? We didn't have all the constraints from past vehicles. So one of the things that I love the most, I think it's, frustrating that other vehicles don't have it, is front hinge doors. I think getting in and out of a vehicle like this that has front hinge doors that we're all used to, I think really helps the riding comfort. The step-in is quite low for these vehicles. The rear hinges is the front hinge as well. I think the rear hinges are strange and a bit awkward at times, and front hinge I felt was the right solution for us.
Very cool. So I'm looking at the front of the car. I noticed we have a winch. It looks like all the models come with a winch. I see a little intake scoop. Then as I walk to the back of the car, I see a bunch of intake here, and I notice the radiators all in the rear of the car.
Yeah, it's a big deal for us. It was one of the foundational questions we had to ask. What's the right thing to do for the customer? What do we think people are going to react to and find enjoyment in? One of the things is, clearly these vehicles can get, hot to drive when you're inside of them. You have a lot of horsepower, you have a lot of BTUs that are happening in the front that you've got to cool, and all of that leads to a really warm cockpit. So right from the get-go, we had to make the decision, do we do front cooling or rear cooling? Rear cooling is a massive challenge. It's for engineering, for design, to package everything has been really difficult, but I think the juice is worth the squeeze. So we have the really nice sight lines up front, really compact front end. We got great approach angles, and we don't have the in-cab heat. So if I'm spending all day, especially in the Southwest riding, all of that cabin heat really changes my, the level of enjoyment I'm going to get on that particular ride. I think one of the things that people are really going to notice, and there are trade-offs on this, we have intakes here on both sides. So the bottom half is for radiator, up here is intake and clutch ducting. But it all comes together in a big plenum in the back. If you want to walk around, I'll show you. So it comes together as a massive plenum in the center, and then we have two 12-inch radiator fans that are pulling all of that heat back out away from the occupant. So I think that is a massive difference. That I guess quality and riding experience is going to be appreciated. Now, with that, I will say, right, we're gonna hear, well, yeah, Tristan, there's not a lot of storage. That is 100% one of the trade-offs that customers do need to make, and as a manufacturer, we need to make. We wanted to keep the footprint short, so it's a playful machine. If we lost the playfulness of it and the nimbleness and fun, then why are we buying them? So we kept it short, nimble. We did pull the heat away from the occupant, and because of that, we do have less space. Now, that's a challenge, clearly, but if we look at some of the accessories, if you can look over, we're gonna have roof baskets for everything. We've got rear tire carriers, we've got storage on the interior, so we're gonna try to offer with accessories as much storage as possible, but again, it is a trade-off we have to make, and for me personally, it's absolutely something that I think is worth it.
Cool little design detail. You can see a little sight glass for your radiator fluid, which is cool to see. Thank you. All right, Tristan, rear suspension. I'm noticing a similar set up to a lot of other side-by-sides. Of course, you have a trailing arm, dual radius rods, but one thing that's a little bit unique, we've got another rod in here which looks to be for the toe link.
Yep. So one thing I think that we're going to notice is everything that we have is dual shear. So everything front, or the inner and outer, and then this rod here controls toe link. You'll see our CV shaft, it's got a section in the center for plunging, and what that does is it makes it easier for the cups. There's less plunge in the cups, so the center of the shaft can slip itself. So again, we're trying to think of reliability more than just stressing those CV cups right to the max. So,
and one thing that's real exciting, what's controlling all that suspension are some Fox shocks. Looks like some 2.5. Are these QS3s? Give us the rundown.
I'm trying to remember exactly if they're QS3s or not. They are 2.5-inch live valve shocks, so it's a big deal. It's a massive improvement for us to have that. They're adjustable on the steering wheel themselves with 3 modes. Yeah, we're very pleased. They handle amazing. Can't wait for you to get in the vehicle. The arms themselves, everything is stamped, so it's 2-layer stamping. Outer trailing arm. It's 20 inches of travel in the back, and up front here, again, they're stamped upper and lower arms. Again, the Fox shocks. We have,
high
again,
clearance, lower.
Yep, everything is dual shearing here, greasable. And then on the outside, what you're gonna see is the lug pattern. It's a 5-on-4.5 lug pattern. We have automotive style wheel bearings. They bolt in, there's no more press fit bearings in there. No, you can't see them.
Guys are gonna like seeing the 5 lug.
Yes, I think that this will be a far more standard. I think they'll probably go industry-wide, better tire options. And all of that, we try to gusset everything as much as we could inside the chassis to make the front end as robust as possible. Including, you'll see here our tie rods, how big they are.
And with all that room in the front end with no radiator, you're able to throw in a standard winch for the customer.
Oh yeah. So it's a big deal. So the winch package is up front. Again, everything is dual shear. It's not like other vehicles. The shocks up top are dual shear. They mount just underneath here. There's a chassis that comes from the center, and it comes all the way down to the front and ties into the front. So the front is not cantilevered out there. Structurally, it's all tied together, very strong. The winch is buried up in the front to, again, get the weight as far back as possible. And that's all possible because we do not have that front radiator. There's 2 fair leads. It goes through one in the center, inside, comes through this hole, and comes all the way out to the bumper. And again, this is an aftermarket style bumper, as I like to call it. It's very robust. It ties the chassis together as well. And I think it's something that, especially for the Southwest customer, it's a pre-runner style bumper. It has a unique look, but it's functional. Again, everything we do, like moving the winch back, allows us to keep our approach angle as honest and tight as possible for those big kind of potential nosedives or rocks or climbing. So.
All right, just to finish off the front end, Tristan had to point out, this is where you're gonna fill your vehicle with fuel. What's our capacity and why put the fuel cell up here?
So yeah, it's one of the things is to get the wheelbase and everything we want to get the seats as low as possible, keep our CG. To do that, we had to get the fuel from underneath the seat up front. Our fuel is completely inside the dash. In fact, underneath this panel here is the fuel pump. It's 9.9 gallons. Like I said, that happens right under here, and we still are able to manage to get storage on both sides, which I think is a great benefit. We didn't lose all storage. My favorite things on this vehicle, by far, again, this is a CF Moto. This is something that we do things a bit differently that nobody else would do. My favorite thing in this vehicle, I say it over and over again, is the fuel fill. It's right here. You notice it's aluminum. It's heavy, it's aluminum, quarter turn comes off. So imagine you're in a toy hauler or an enclosed trailer. You can actually get fuel in your vehicle. You spill some, it'll run out. Again, there's nothing hot up front. There's nothing to happen there. So again, it's aluminum, it's heavy, goes in quarter turns, it's premium, said for fueling it in an enclosed trailer and everything. It's way better than trying to fight a modern gas can to get fuel in the side of the vehicle. So another one of those little bits that is my favorite.
All right, so now we're inside the car, the fit and finish in the interior. You mentioned how high quality the paint is in CF Moto. The interior looks stellar, so let's walk us through some of your favorite features and the layout.
Yeah, I think customers, there's lots to talk about in the interior. I think one of the favorite things that we do, again, CF Moto, it's value. We give more value than anybody else. these seats, I think not only are they stunning looking, these are a full suspension seat. So think of aftermarket seat manufacturers. This is like them. The bottom seat cushion is removable, and that's going to give you guys will notice the bottom is bound. So it's a suspension seat itself. And then also inside of this seat, it's not only a plastic shell with foam on the inside, it's a plastic shell with a steel frame inside the seat. So inside the bolsters, there's metal wires, thick metal wires that come into all the bolstering. So it's definitely built like no other current production manufactured UTV. But yeah, again, I think the aftermarket is going to love this. Again, it's just one of those extras. You don't feel like you have to, you know, replace the seats immediately when you buy a new vehicle.
Yeah, I like the cutouts for 4 points, and then you were mentioning too some removable covers here for the rear if you want to quickly add some 4 points.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's brackets here for dual retractors. I think these are going to be an accessory option for us, but dual retractors, the seatbelts go through the seats. In the back behind the seats, you'll see that there's covers in there. And you pop out those covers, the retractors are completely hidden. And again, they come through the seats if you want to upgrade.
Very cool. Great looking shifter. Switch layout, you were pointing out a couple things. First off, everything's controlled through the steering wheel. So talk about the steering wheel and what you can control.
Yeah, so again, when I said earlier, think of more an exotic car, I think the steering wheel probably exemplifies that the most. So if we look here, again, your start-stop button is on the steering wheel. This is how you control your drive modes. And you can see it functioning up on the LCD.
Three drive modes?
Yep, 3 drive modes. Your suspension is all adjustable right here. And then your volume for your CarPlay. So one of the things here, it's a nice, small, tight steering wheel. It's premium feeling. There's paint on there. And again, as we're going through, all of the main controls are on the steering wheel, just like I believe they should be. The LCD here that we'll see, it's nothing but kind of the essentials. So everything we worked on, it's like a race car. You can see how big your gear indicator is. It shows we're in park right now. Our fuel bar, we have the coolant temp. We have obviously speed. We have an accurate RPM that'll get down, I think, within the 10th. And then we have new indicators that show us if we're in 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, or the differential is locked. So again, nothing but the essentials. Really keep you focused and looking forward and not over to this screen, and I find myself really just looking at that most of the time.
First, one thing I like to see, especially when you run a lot of accessories at night, you see the voltage.
Yes.
Accessory-wise, looks like you've got 2 switches already ready for additional lighting.
Again, it's one of those things, these vehicles, I think you're going to be used to other products out there that have nothing but switches. They're just normal rocker switches, same stuff that you're going to find on a pontoon boat. Again, we are going to push everybody. We're going to do what everyone hopes they would be, more like a car. Again, think exotic car. So over on the side is everything you have for lighting. So it's high beam, low beam, and then off. You can just run the signature lights. And as well, there's 2 auxiliary buttons already wired there. So if you want to run a light bar or front auxiliary lights or lights off to the side, you can wire them into that switch over there. So your lighting is all controlled in one place. You don't have to come and hunt in a bunch of for a bunch of other rockers.
Speaking of rockers, so you got 2 here. You've got a couple rockers ready for additional accessories. You've got your winch right here, and you also have 2 knockouts for additional accessories. So
yeah,
pretty much got everything covered, no matter what you wanted to add.
Yeah, absolutely. So on this model, it has a winch, right? So it's right here. These are micro switches. These are just for us. We tooled them up. So that's how you're going to control. And when you use them, they're all lit. So even the sides will be lit. These ones are 3 blanks. So the customer, if they want to add some features, you know, like something, air pumper or something, they can wire right into these. And they'll also be able to control some of it from the head unit itself. But yeah, these are all 3 switches that'll be to use for anybody that wants to install something new, as well as there are some of those, you know, holdover accessory switches that some companies are going to want to have. So we left 2 blanks here in the center just for, you know, might be, I could see a rugged radio or a pumper, you know, so you have two switches still, so you can still run kind of standard stuff. Another thing I'd like to kind of cover in here is, again, the motif of this is more like an exotic car. If we look at here how you would function, again, it can't just all be rocker switches. That's how everyone does it. We want to have some knobs. We want to have things in logical locations. This is a new switch that we have just for the 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, and the differential lock. Very premium. No one does anything like this. So this rotates. It's a very nice feel. This is how you're going to go 4-wheel drive, two-wheel drive, and then your differential lock, that's how you would lock it and unlock it. And that's gonna be able to happen on the fly. And again, it's the premium feel, and it's not something you're not hunting for a switch. You're not glancing over while you're going through whoops and trying to figure out what it is. Again, a premium feel, and right next to it, this shift handle. It's aluminum, it's cast aluminum, it's premium feeling, it's gonna be cold in your hand. I think it's a beautiful sculpted piece. You can see here we have a nice shift gate. So here, it's a gated shifter. So out of park, now we're in reverse, you see here. And one of the things for me as a rider, going all the way back, it bottoms out, I'm in high. I want to go to reverse again, I just slam it forward. It's locked out, it's in reverse, so low reverse, and you can see here the camera comes on when it goes into reverse. And you're always gonna know you're going in low because you have to go over to it. So again, for that, like that just real quick, processing it, going high to low and into reverse, I think it's the best way to do it. And I'm really proud of how it's really tight feeling, it's premium feeling again. Again, it's integrated to the display, and if you can, you'll be able to run accessory front cameras as well, and that'll happen as well. You want to run, it'll show you the front camera.
I was going to say,
if you upgrade,
additional feature for the rear camera stock, and then being that you come stock with the front bumper, the front camera, if you want to add it, is really simple.
Absolutely. Another thing here too is our key here. I pulled it out here, but these are proximity keys. So they go into the dashboard. There's a slot over here. They push in. They're magnetic, so you don't have a physical key. Once you put it in, you start it with the button. And then here, one of the things that I think most people, if it connects back to my phone now that I shut it off.
I'll take a break for a second. All right, finally, we can't not finish up talking about Apple CarPlay, but your big dash, we're talking 12-inch screen, and what can we see on it, and what features does it have?
Yeah, it's a 12.3-inch TFT, so it's a beautiful display. Obviously here it has all the features. You're gonna have all sorts of apps and widgets that you can add to it, and it'll be always updating. But you can see here when you change drive modes, it's going to update on here real time. But I think the feature that most people are gonna be really excited about is we made the investment and we have CarPlay. Again, why isn't everybody doing this? It's one of those things that CF Moto does. And we thought it was important right from the get-go. What do customers want? It's obvious, they want CarPlay. So again, out there in the dunes, I want to have CarPlay go through it, connect to my phone. Again, it seems too easy, but it's a huge investment for a manufacturer to go in and put these in all of the products because they do cost money. And there's also certain things that you need to have, like screen resolution, talk buttons, voice command buttons, which on the steering wheel. But again, I think it's worth it. I think customers are really going to respond well to it. And when you connect the MB Court audio system, it'll be an accessory. And you'll see here there's panels up in the dashboard. These remove, and there'll be tweeters up there. And all of the doors, if you look over here, that panel will remove. And they're in the rear doors as well. So that panel can be removed, and an enclosure goes in there, and a new grille gets put in there, and that'll be where your audio is. So it'll be all baked in nicely. This will control all of it. There's no need for a separate system. Again, storage, both sides. I think that's critical. And one of the things here, I'm 6 foot tall, but I think Nick, you're in here. We'll get you in here a little bit. But even 6'3", one of the things is, again, we talk about ergonomics on these products. It's a big deal for us. Everything from front to back is CF Moto. These are the ergonomics that we developed. We believe that they're the best in the industry. So not only do you have ample leg room, you have actual knee room. The steering wheel, it's mounted a bit higher, so when you bring it down, it faces your chest more. It's not upright. You can see how much space there is to get in here. It's a tilt steering wheel, so getting in and out of it is extremely easy. So even for the tallest people, they don't struggle, and that's not true for everybody in the industry. So again, front to back, top to bottom, we thought of it. It's our own unique way. It's what we think is the right formula, and we're very proud of that.
Great job, Tristan. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.